Like, comment, and subscribe.
Long ago, in a kingdom surrounded by mountains and rivers, there lived a benevolent king and queen who longed for a child. Their prayers were finally answered when the queen became pregnant. But during her pregnancy, she grew gravely ill, so weak that the royal physicians feared she would not survive. The only hope was a rare magical golden flower, hidden deep in the forest, said to have healing powers strong enough to cure any sickness. This flower was created centuries ago from a single drop of sunlight that fell to the earth, blessing it with warmth, life, and magic. For years, a woman named Mother Gothel had been secretly guarding this flower. She was no ordinary woman, but one obsessed with youth and beauty. She had discovered that singing a special song to the flower would unleash its magic, keeping her young and ageless. To her, the golden bloom was not just a treasure, but her secret to immortality. When the king's guards discovered the hidden flower, they carefully harvested it and brought it back to the palace. The flower was brewed into a potion for the queen, and miraculously she regained her strength. Soon after, the queen gave birth to a baby girl with the most enchanting golden hair. The entire kingdom rejoiced, and the royal couple named their daughter Rapunzel. To celebrate her birth, glowing lanterns were released into the night sky, a tradition that would become a yearly event. But while the kingdom celebrated, Mother Gothel seethed with fury. The magical flower was gone, and so was her eternal youth. When she discovered that the magic now lived within Rapunzel's golden hair, she devised a wicked plan. One fateful night, Gothel crept into the palace nursery and tried to cut a lock of Rapunzel's hair, only to discover that once cut, the golden strands lost their power and turned brown. Realizing the magic was bound to the child herself, Gothel kidnapped baby Rapunzel and fled deep into the woods. She locked the child in a tall hidden tower with no doors and only one window, raising her as her own daughter. To Rapunzel, Gothel was her loving mother, but in truth, she was her captor. The tower became her entire world. Gothel warned her never to leave, filling her mind with terrifying stories of the outside world, stories of thieves, monsters, and betrayal. Years passed, and Rapunzel grew into a bright, curious young woman. Her magical hair glowed when she sang, and she could heal wounds with its touch, though she believed it was just a strange gift. While she loved painting, baking, and playing with her long hair inside the tower, she often gazed out of her window with wonder. Every year on her birthday, she would see thousands of glowing lanterns rising into the sky from the distant kingdom, filling her with longing and questions she couldn't silence. Why did those lights appear on her birthday? Who were the people that lit them? And why did she feel in her heart that they were somehow meant for her? Thus begins the story of Rapunzel, born of sunlight, hidden in shadows, and destined for a journey that would change her life forever. Rapunzel grew up under Mother Gothel's strict and manipulative care. Gothel pretended to love her, but constantly reminded Rapunzel that the world outside was cruel. "The world is full of selfish people who will hurt you," Gothel would say. Rapunzel, eager to please, obeyed her, but her heart burned with curiosity. She filled her tower with paintings, books, and hobbies, but she longed for more, especially to see the floating lanterns up close. Meanwhile, outside the forest, a thief named Flynn Rider was causing trouble. Handsome, witty, and endlessly charming, Flynn was a wanted criminal. Along with two rough bandits, the Stabbington brothers, he stole a priceless royal crown, the very crown meant for the lost princess Rapunzel, though he had no idea of its significance. After betraying his partners and fleeing with the crown, Flynn stumbled into the woods, chased by palace guards. Desperate for a hiding place, he came across Rapunzel's hidden tower. Scaling the wall, he climbed through the window, only to be knocked out cold by Rapunzel with a frying pan. Shocked and frightened, Rapunzel hid the mysterious stranger in her closet. For the first time in her life, she had real proof that the world outside existed. He wasn't a monster, just a man. Curious, she examined him and the strange satchel he carried. Inside, she found the stolen crown. When Flynn awoke, Rapunzel confronted him. She didn't want riches, she wanted freedom. She struck a deal with him. If he escorted her to see the floating lanterns, she would return his precious satchel. Flynn, though reluctant, had little choice. Thus began an unlikely partnership. Rapunzel, the sheltered girl with magic in her hair, and Flynn, the roguish thief running from the law. Mother Gothel, meanwhile, quickly sensed something was wrong when she noticed Rapunzel's behavior changing. Her daughter was becoming more rebellious, more curious, more alive. Gothel's greatest fear was losing Rapunzel and the magic that kept her young. But it was too late. Rapunzel had taken her first step into the great unknown. Rapunzel's first moments outside were overwhelming. Her bare feet touched grass for the first time. She danced with joy, rolled in flowers, splashed in streams, and marveled at the endless blue sky. Yet at the same time, she was racked with guilt. What if Mother Gothel was right? What if she had betrayed the only person who had ever cared for her? Flynn, on the other hand, was amused. To him, she was an overly naive girl, dazzled by the simplest things. But he was also intrigued. She wasn't like anyone he had ever met. Her innocence, her joy, and her wonder stirred something inside him, though he tried to hide it behind his usual cocky charm. Their journey was not without danger. The palace guards, still chasing Flynn, nearly captured them. At one point they stumbled into a tavern filled with ruffians and thugs. Rapunzel was terrified at first, but then her kindness shone through. She saw past their rough appearances and encouraged them to share their dreams. To Flynn's astonishment, the brutish men sang of longing to be pianists, bakers, and lovers of art. Through Rapunzel's influence, the tavern turned from a place of danger into one of laughter and warmth. But their adventure soon took a darker turn. Chased into a dam by the guards, the two found themselves trapped in a flooding cave. The water rose higher and higher, and escape seemed impossible. In that desperate moment, Flynn, who had always hidden behind jokes, revealed his real name, Eugene Fitzherbert. He admitted he wasn't the fearless thief everyone believed him to be. Rapunzel, panicked, began to sing, and her glowing hair illuminated the cave. Using its magic, she revealed a hidden passage that saved them. For the first time, Flynn saw the true power of her hair, and Rapunzel saw the vulnerable man behind his mask. A bond was beginning to grow. As they traveled further, Rapunzel began to trust Flynn, and he began to care for her in ways he never expected. At night by the campfire, she told him about the floating lanterns and her wish to see them up close. He listened, realizing how much this dream meant to her. She wasn't chasing gold or jewels. Her dream was pure and innocent. But Mother Gothel had not given up. Realizing Rapunzel was slipping away, she plotted to drive a wedge between her and Flynn. She secretly returned to the tower and confronted Rapunzel, warning her that Flynn only wanted the crown. "He doesn't love you, Rapunzel. He'll betray you, just like all men do," Gothel hissed. Rapunzel refused to believe her, but couldn't ignore the seed of doubt planted in her heart. Meanwhile, Flynn wrestled with his own conflict. At first, Rapunzel was just a means to retrieve his satchel. But as the days passed, he began to care less about the crown, and more about her laughter, her courage, and the light she carried within her. He began to wonder, could someone like Rapunzel ever truly care for someone like him? Their journey drew them closer to the kingdom, where preparations for the annual lantern release were underway. As they entered the bustling city, Rapunzel's heart raced with excitement. She danced with children, admired the art, and braided her hair with flowers, blending with the people as though she had always belonged. Flynn watched her in awe. She wasn't just a girl locked in a tower. She was radiant, full of life, and destined for something far greater. That evening, as the sun set, Flynn surprised Rapunzel with a boat ride on the shimmering waters. Lanterns began to rise into the night sky, glowing like stars. Rapunzel gasped, her eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "They're beautiful." She realized for the first time that this dream she had held on to for so long was real. Flynn gently handed her the crown. But in that moment, Rapunzel no longer cared about it. All that mattered was the lanterns, her dream fulfilled, and the man sitting beside her. As the sky filled with light, they both realized something even brighter had ignited between them: love. Just as Rapunzel and Flynn's bond deepened, darkness returned. The Stabbington brothers, bitter from Flynn's betrayal, allied with Mother Gothel. Together, they set a trap. After the magical evening, Flynn stepped ashore to secure their boat. But the Stabbington brothers ambushed him, knocking him out and tying him to a ship's mast, leaving him to be arrested by the palace guards. They wanted Rapunzel's hair and its magic. When they approached her, claiming Flynn had abandoned her for the crown, Rapunzel's heart shattered. The words echoed Gothel's warning, "He doesn't love you." Gothel rescued Rapunzel from the thugs and took her back to the tower. There she comforted her, weaving lies into Rapunzel's sorrow. Heartbroken, Rapunzel accepted her captivity once more. Meanwhile, Flynn, now imprisoned, was to be executed for his crimes. Yet, in his darkest hour, the ruffians from the tavern, those same men Rapunzel had inspired, came to his aid. Risking their own safety, they helped him escape. For the first time, Flynn wasn't running for himself. He was running to save someone else. Back in the tower, Rapunzel's sorrow turned to realization. She noticed a familiar symbol painted in her childhood artwork, the sun emblem of the kingdom. Memories stirred, and the truth began to surface. She was the lost princess. The lanterns had always been for her. Her entire life had been a lie, crafted by the woman she called Mother. Horrified, Rapunzel confronted Gothel, but Gothel, desperate and enraged, chained her to the wall. "You will never leave me," Gothel hissed. "You are mine." Flynn, driven by love, raced back to the tower. Scaling the wall once again, he burst into the room, only to be stabbed by Gothel. Rapunzel screamed as Flynn collapsed, gravely wounded. Gothel tried to drag Rapunzel away, but the princess made a desperate bargain. She would go willingly if Gothel allowed her to heal Flynn with her hair. Gothel agreed, believing she had won. But as Rapunzel leaned over Flynn, he looked into her eyes, filled with tears, and made his choice. With the last of his strength, he grabbed a shard of glass and cut off her hair. The golden strands instantly turned brown and lifeless. The magic was gone. Gothel shrieked in horror as her stolen youth vanished. She aged rapidly, her body crumbling to dust. With one final scream, she fell from the tower, gone forever. But Rapunzel's joy was short-lived. Flynn lay dying in her arms. "You were my new dream," she whispered, sobbing. And he, with his final breath, replied, "And you were mine." His eyes closed, and silence filled the tower. Desperate, Rapunzel's tears fell onto Flynn's cheek. And then, something miraculous happened. Her tears, still carrying the last remnants of the sun's magic, glowed brightly. The light spread through Flynn's body, healing his wound and bringing him back to life. Flynn gasped for air, alive once more. Rapunzel embraced him, overwhelmed with relief and love. She was free, and she had chosen her path, not through magic, but through courage and sacrifice. With Gothel gone, Rapunzel finally returned to the kingdom. At first, the king and queen could hardly believe it, but when they looked into her eyes, they knew this was their daughter, the princess they had lost so many years ago. Tears streamed down their faces as they embraced her, never again to let her go. The entire kingdom rejoiced at the return of their lost princess. Lanterns filled the sky, brighter than ever before, this time not for hope, but for celebration. Rapunzel, dressed in royal attire, stood beside her parents, her heart full. She had found her true family, her true identity, and her freedom. As for Flynn, Eugene, he stood at her side, no longer a thief, but a man transformed by love. He found redemption not through gold or riches, but through the courage to care for someone else. Rapunzel forgave Gothel in her heart, but she vowed never to live in fear again. She embraced her new life with open arms, ruling with kindness, compassion, and strength. And every year, the lanterns still rose into the night sky, but now Rapunzel didn't have to watch them from afar. She lit them herself, with her family and her people by her side. Thus ended the tale of Rapunzel, the girl with the golden hair, the thief with the hidden heart, and the kingdom that found its lost princess. A story of light, love, and freedom. And so, they lived happily ever after.